What's up, world? I'm Treneti, and this is Dante,
Hello.
and we are just making this beautiful video to share with you a few different perspectives on light language. If you've worked with us in any sessions or ceremonies, you've experienced the magic of light language, and some of you who are watching this video may have simply typed into your YouTube search bar, "What is light language?" because you heard someone speaking in tongues, or you saw some really beautiful art and it had inscriptions on it that were not of any known earth language, and someone told you that it was a light language. Or maybe it's just been like coming up for you a lot and you're feeling curious and resonant with it and want to explore a little bit more about what that means, or how you could be utilizing that way of flowing cosmic energy and communication energy through your body. So we're doing a video just to talk about how we each individually use it in our practices, and hopefully give you a little bit more insight and inspiration as to how you can begin to embody those codes in your daily practice as well.
Yeah. Light language is a really powerful tool that can help you even if you don't necessarily know what's happening. And everyone has their own different experience with light language. Like, some people kind of be able to sense that it's coming directly from a specific council or from the angels, and they use that uh, channel as a means to connect with their specific guides, and sometimes it just comes through. And really, this is just kind of the flow of spirit moving through us and expressing in some way that allows us to experience kind of the beyondness, of those higher realms. Because when we start to get to, source of what is our higher dimensional self and our guides, and, outside of the fabric of linear time, space-time reality entirely, like, that's not something that we really have language for, and we can talk so much about it, yet that's always going to be a limited perception. So the light language is a way that we can just let all of that cognitive dissonance disappear and step into this like experiential thing. So it's like really this tool of surrendering the rational mind to spirit.
Yes, beautiful. I love that way of describing it, as surrendering the rational mind to spirit. So I really like to always get to really like break down and dissect like how do we actually describe what's happening with light language in our common language right now. So light language is not this like new phenomena that like came onto the planet like with the new age starseed kids, and it's like now all the craze. It is as old as humans like seeking connection to the divine. It is speaking in tongues. It stems from like African roots and tribal ceremonies and things like that, where you drop into a trance. Oftentimes, like these tribes would do fire dances and drop into trances around the fire and start to speak in tongues and channel cosmic energy and channel like the deities and devas of their own like spiritual practice into the space through that. That tradition and heritage was carried over to the United States through the slave trade, when brown people from Africa were brought here to be slaves and then taught Christian religion. It even still came into the Christian church and became like catching the Holy Ghost and speaking in tongues. And so like if you've ever been to a Southern Baptist church and you've seen like big powerful brown women stand up and start to like cast out demons from people, or like invoke the spirit of God through their body while they're like catching the Holy Ghost and speaking in tongues, that is a variation of light language. Also, the way that we see babies playing and flowing freely with each other and like communicating in this non-linguistic stream of syllables and consonants and sounds and tones, that's also light language. Why is this such a powerful form of communication? Because light language is a frequency that comes through us in a language from the heart. So by connecting to the earth and connecting to whatever we communicate with as our source, as our representation of God, and allowing that energy to culminate in the heart and speak through the heart, we then begin to tap into something that is more powerful than language. And with the intention that comes through this, we can actually like perform very, very high level quantum healings on ourselves and on other people. Why is this so powerful? Because the intention is transferring directly from soul to soul. So if I were to sit here and tell you, you have the potential to heal yourself instantaneously. Some of you may be on board with that and be like, yes, I do. I am healing myself instantaneously. But then others may have stories in our ego mind where it's like, well, I could, but also I've had this thing since I was 10, and like, who would I be without this story about this thing that I can't heal because it's a part of my identity? When we like start to step into light language communication and smart body communication, we can navigate around those pathways that the ego creates as blocks to prevent us from healing ourselves, because when we heal ourselves, we become new beings. Our identity shifts, and the ego holds on to a lot of attachment in relationship to identity. But we know, even though that part is operating and oscillating, that that's not what we want. That's not our highest good. Also, as people who perform energy healing, that's not what we want for our clients. That's not what you want. So this form of communication allows us to communicate heart to heart, soul to soul, and circumnavigate a lot of those blocks and barriers that the mind may hold due to its stories and programs around what it thinks its reality should be like. And we can go around that and get directly to the source and have these very powerful shifts occur in space and time, here and now.
Yeah. It's deep stuff, and I use this throughout my day, especially if I ever get into like a confused space or I'm not in my right flow. Just doing that for a couple of minutes and letting this flow through me can get me back in center. And other times it'll just happen totally spontaneously when I'm meditating, after yoga, when I am listening to some music or entertaining some like spiritual program or energy that really activates me, or especially with a plant medicine. And it's really like all kind of shamanic practices and cultures have this, as it just really emerges through that trance state, that the energy has to move through the voice box. And there's no evidence for this, but I kind of have the feeling that, language itself just emerged through these sounds that flowed through us, and eventually like we came to a consensus agreement about it. But ultimately, like, behind that is this spiritual energy that is, we're communicating something deeper on the telepathic level. And when you start to have like a light language communication with someone, it's like you're transferring this kind of soul energy more than you're transferring the rational mind knowing. And then you're getting to know that heart to heart and soul to soul, and so much more can come through, and you can get these like downloads and knowings about someone when you really let that come through. And also, like, it's a carrier wave for these different beings. And like when at the last ceremony we did together, like there were these Syrian beings and all sorts of shamanic beings, and your guides, like, as soon as you let that language in, they entered the space and they started doing so much more work than before. So yeah,
Definitely. There's so many ways that light language can be utilized and expressed through us and through space. And like what Dante's talking about, like the different tones and frequencies. You can even think about it like, just think about it as sound. So you listen to a certain song, right? And it'll open up a world. It'll open up an entire space that is a realm that only exists inside the key of this song. The same thing with light language. Depending on like where the conduit, the channel is attuning their frequency, or what the intention is that is wanting to flow through, that's going to change the tone of like the healing energy that comes into the space, or the visionary energy. Sometimes it's not about like a actual like physical healing, and sometimes it's more about like the telling of a tale, or like a emotional dialogue, like impressionist era classical music, where you listen to this composition and you like go on this entire journey through like the forest and you know that through the tone of the song that it's a snowy day in the forest, in fact, with like slight overcast, because the actual sounds in the song is like teaching you that and allowing your mind to see that. And so a lot of times, like dropping into a light language channel, especially in a musical space, like it'll open up these different portals for different kinds of energies to be expressed and experienced through that sound. Another way of utilizing light language that I really want to highlight, that's something that I really utilize a lot in my practice personally, and also with my client sessions where we do light language work one-on-one, and cultivating like the ability to use it as a powerful prayer work tool, using it to attune water with intention, imbuing that intention into it through these pure sound codes, and also using it to channel energy through the body, through places that feel stagnant or have what I call like pain crystals, like just places where energy is really stuck. And like the way I see it is like that's information that's up for review. It's ready to be like seen, witnessed, and heard, so that it can like release and like be whatever it needs to be. Light language is like very powerful to like bring into those spaces, to listen from those spaces, and then allow yourself to express the light language, to move that energy, to move through whatever is stuck there. And another way, a third way that I really love to work with it is through sitting with plants and starting that meditation, like connecting, tuning into the frequency of the plant. And then after that, like connection is solidified, then starting to flow into a trance with the light language, and allowing myself to stay open and receptive to listening and receiving what the plant is communicating back to me, and like learning information that is stored in these records, these files of these like very, very intelligent beings that we have all around us in the plant kingdom.
I really love, like, you have so many deeper words for this and such a clear and concise understanding of this, because when I try to explain it to people, it's like I often get like caught up. I'm like, it's just what it is, you know, like imalakataramo and like when we first started recording the first take of this and just started laughing, like that's my experience of light language. It's like, you know, you're in this stuck place, and then you just go, and it starts to move. So
that's
what
so beautiful. Yeah, that's funny. In my client session earlier, that came up, and she was like, oh, like I keep on like I was like attuning her, like her first time speaking, and she was just like, I keep on like just feeling like laughing. And like she's like, there's nothing else to like the feeling of this energy flowing through my body just makes me want to laugh. And it's really beautiful because it's a very abstract form of communication.
Totally.
And perhaps like there's a lot of reasons maybe why my mind has the words and the linguistics to like talk about it, but perhaps it's because like my first form of like articulated communication was dance, which is another very abstract form of communication,
which is light language as well,
which is the art of moving light, which we can talk about that too. It's like all things related to moving the light codes and the geometry like through your physical vessel, and mudras get into that kind of light language, and there's written light language and all these other like different ways to express it. But really is at the nectar of it, it is abstract, non-linguistic, emotional based communication. It's completely harmonious with the feeling body. It only operates with the feeling body, which is an aspect of the mind, but it's not the aspect of the mind that we're used to using for our communication. So it feels very foreign and it feels very different. But that's the exact same energy that's flowing when we're communicating something really deeply through the dance. It's very much more naturally in tune with that psychic receptivity, like just picking up on like the subtleties of what's happening.
And really, like, well, when we met, you were doing that light movement.
Yeah, I was doing.
And that actually really, like, just going to that workshop, even though it was, like, challenging for me. I was, like, more used to this very rigid form of yoga. And this was, like, a big activation, both for me to get more into my body, but that was also that was not the first time I started channeling in words it was the first time I started channeling this extra-terrestrial energy in words.
Yes.
Because before I was only channeling the angelic energy in words, and there's something about that angelic code that is maybe more like rigid in the way that the yoga is, and this ET energy is like a very new thing coming to the planet. And for me, it was like this new movement, and just like learning how to like, so the key in light language is like, because try to teach this to a lot of people, and now like there's more like rational words to explain it to them with, which is great, because people get resistant. They're like, oh, mishakata la boko, I can't do that. I just no, like, and they do it really slow, or they whisper it like, I don't want to do it, I don't want to offend, I don't want to do it wrong. And like it's not about doing it wrong or right, it's about, you know, we've developed so much conditioning, like you were saying, babies just go right into moving in light language. And I remember when I was a child, like there were all these letters on the fridge, and I was putting the letters in a new way, and I was like, Mom, what does that say? And she was like, that's not a word, Dante, you have to spell it the right way. There's a way to spell things, and there's a way that you don't spell things. And I didn't get that, because I just heard sound as a child, and sound is like nisi mala samo somo kotere mekapa, like all of that has a meaning on some level, because I felt it and it moved through me. And that's what light language really is in our practice. It's like, whether it's movement, whether it's writing and images, or whether it's in sound, you kind of surrender and let it move. And it's more about the feeling of it, and the feeling of this elevation that it's bringing you.
And when like activating others in speaking in light language, because that's become a big part of my practice, what I do with my clients, it's really important to understand that like those things that come up where people feel resistance are natural. Like that's like a part of like the part of our brain that wants to have like a rational reason why everything exists, like falling into the back seat a little bit and realizing that this is something that it can't control. And first it has to relinquish control, and then that part of the mind, once it sees and witnesses and feels the magic and the validity of it, becomes on board later, and then is an ally when it comes to like translating the codes and understanding like the mantras of what you're saying. So there's that aspect. And then also like the LRPM, light rate per minute, which is like a term that I came up with to
Wow, getting so technical.
LRPM.
What's your LRPM?
It's like, you brought up the GCT workshop, and that's like all of that like realm of me. But that's like the vibration coming in, the light rate per minute, like how fast is the energy flowing. And light language is very high frequency energy. So if you're not used to channeling that frequency of energy, it's natural for it to come through slower at first and like be clunky, because like you literally, like, it may not feel like that on the surface level, but you're training your subtle body energies to be a lightning rod, essentially, to be the conduit for that energy to land onto the earth plane.
And do you find that like doing it for longer periods of time is going to raise that, what is the LRPM? So say for like, you know, doing it for just 1 minute versus doing it for 10, that's a lot different, right?
Yes, definitely. Like, you and I both worked with Dr. Gato back down at the lake.
Waving his little wand,
And when he first like encouraged me to get back into light language practice, he was like, just say it all the time, never stop. And so like for days, like, or weeks even, like walking around Lake Atilan, like everything that I did, I was just like, washing the dishes, talking to the plants on my wall, like, and starting to get that process. And then I pretty quickly, like within a couple of days, like started to receive translations, which that takes some people longer to like, or some people actually like never relate to it in that way, where they're like able to bridge like what they're saying in light language to what it may mean in English. And like I remember the first code that I got the clear translation for was Aivarpa ki aya, and that's like what I sing all the time in cacao ceremonies, which means like open your heart to see the all-encompassing light, like, which is a beautiful thing to receive from light language. And I received that like walking from like up by San Pablo, like around the lake, like, and I was going like down into like San Marcos proper, and like I just was speaking in tongues, and like that just came through, and it was a very powerful moment, and I was like, whoa, what just happened?
And to you, is that like from a specific? Is that for your soul or for all souls, or does it come from a specific star family, or?
I don't relate to my star families in the way in which it is helpful or conducive for anyone for me to say that anything that comes to me or through me is from them. They've made a very like clear agreement and arrangement with me that my work is better served if like they are allowed to just be low-key. And the way that we communicate, the way I see my star seed lineages is like aspects of me in other planes and dimensions that are feeding energy to me here now. So they're all aspects of my higher self. And so if they're therefore all aspects of my higher self, then they're all aspects of God. And so I actually choose to use that word God in a very empowering way and allow that to be what I believe is flowing through me when I'm receiving codes like that. And I do believe that that code is for all people. It is for me originally. Like anything that we carry in our medicine toolkit, if it's real, it's not going to be like the shit you learn in a book. It's going to be like your own healing experience then qualifies you to carry that medicine. Once it's become medicine for you and you've worked with it and you know it really well, then you can carry that medicine and share that medicine with others from a real space, from an empowered space, not from I just read this shit from a book and I think it works space. Yes, I just said that. Know that. That's really real and really true. Know that. So that came to me like very much through that space, and then over the years I've been charging it by singing it in every cacao ceremony, and charging it by singing it with people and like teaching it and sharing it, and like just like you would charge a crystal, holding it and like putting more and more intention into it. Or just like how Reiki is a very charged frequency because so many people are in consensus around it, but it really started with one guy like, you know, cutting himself up a mountain. And like then just like how like doing a mantra is super powerful because it's been like preyed upon for like however long. The same thing comes with like our light codes that we translate. Like another one that I received while I was going through a really, really dark time, and I had gotten like super sick, and I like had this energy in my body like that was just completely crushing my immune system. And I was taking a bath because that's what I like to do when like I really need to expedite some healing, is take a bath, a very intensely spiritual bath with like
that works.
Really, really good clays and sauce. That could be another video. We could talk about that. But in this bath, I started to channel. I was speaking in tongues at first, just flowing to move the energy, and then I started to channel Ono Kana Tio, Ono Kana Tio. And I couldn't stop saying it. It became a trance in and of itself, and I was saying it over and over and over, and faster and faster and faster. And then I started to sing it, and then I started to feel the sickness lifting off of me. And then as I was singing it, it started to become this melody, and the translation started to come through with the melody, which a lot of times like that really like helps me. Like I'm one of those kind of people that like through the song, like things flow through me that would not normally flow. So I was like singing, and I was just like in this trance of like, oh no, gonna you, I release you from my body. And I was like over and over singing it, and then all of a sudden like all this like crazy gunk energy that had collected up on my body. Like I was like living in LA at the time, and it was like my first time living there, and I was going through like the LA initiation and also beginning my Saturn return. It was a shit show, and there was a lot of gunk in my field, and I was like clearing all of it through this mantra. And so I remembered it because it felt very much like a talisman, like I just like leveled up on the video game of life and received this new healing tool to put in my like healing toolkit, like Legend of Zelda or some shit. And then I started to share it with other people. I started to use it in my client sessions when I was doing energy healing on people, and I still share it with my clients all the time. And like you even witnessed it. I think I sung that light code in our last cacao ceremony.
Yeah, I remember that.
There was like this powerful purification spell coming through, and yeah.
That was one of the most powerful sound baths ever, by the way. One of the most powerful sound baths. They're always getting more powerful. Though actually my experience of like the specific light language is a little bit different because I recognize certain languages that come from certain star family that I work with. Like I will recognize what Pleiadian sounds like. And Pleiadian always kind of starts with this one sound or a variation on the sound, and the sound is Anai. And when I try to force it, it's a little bit more less organic. But when I just go into the state, and like that sound will always come back, and then the sound of the Pleiadian comes through. But then it's like there is this aspect of it for me where it shifts so quickly that like in 5 seconds can be Pleiadian, 5 seconds can be Arcturian, 5 seconds can be Hathor, then back, and they just move very quickly. But there's the Hathorian, which is also very, very distinct, and the Pleiadian is very, very distinct. And then there's a whole bunch of other things. And, you know, when I try to ask, like, what's going on, the message that I get is that there's, you know, when there's a group especially, there's so many different spirits that are coming into the space that are for all of those people there, that I'm singing their spirits in as well as my own guides, that I don't even know what that is that's coming in.
It doesn't even matter.
No.
Like, the way I always see it is like this sea of faces, like thousands and thousands of faces behind my voice.
Yeah.
And like as I'm channeling sound, the different voices like come through. And sometimes I know like, okay, like this is Lyran energy coming through. This is Arcturian energy, or this is like the energy that is known as like Kuan Yin coming through, or like the energy that is known as like, you know, Andromeda coming through. But what I was alluding to earlier by like I don't express that, like I very rarely like in a session or like in a sound journey space tell people like, oh, I'm channeling this specific like being or frequency. I don't do that. Because it doesn't matter. Like you don't need to. If you're meant to know, you're gonna feel that like within yourself and have that like discernment and like register it in that way. But it's more important to me that the healing codes themselves move through. And like speaking on like being able to discern them, it's really interesting because like when I'm writing light language, I can very much tell like which energy I'm tuning into because the codes look differently, and also they move across the page differently. Like some light languages go from down to up when I'm writing, some go from up to down, some go from right to left, and some go from left to right. And so that's a whole another realm. But I hope that this has been helpful for those of you out there who are like interested and curious about light language. Maybe this has gotten you a little bit more curious with like wanting to explore it more deeply. Perhaps there's even aspects of what we've talked about from our experience that are like inspiring you to like actually go now into your practice and see about investigating the implementation of some of these things. And if you have any questions and you want to like work deeper on light language and harnessing your skills and your potential with this, you can reach out to both of us, and we're happy to answer your questions, and we're happy to work with you on developing and honing that energy. And
and I feel like we should just include some light language, because talking about it without doing it is almost like, what's the point?
I know, it's like a tease. It's
like such a tease.
It's like telling people like about like this 10-course meal, and then be like, but we already had it, so.
Yeah, or like no, just cooking the whole thing, and then like now you just have to stare at it and walk away.
Yeah, it's not for eating. It's just for observing. I'm super open to doing like a couple little mini transmissions. Just really short, you know, I want to be considerate of the time of the video.
Yeah,
like
for
that,
sure.
You know,
people have the time.
We do, but the attention span, that's the thing.
It's true.
It's like, if you're still watching,
you made it this far.
If you're still watching,
You've
you
made
actually
it this far. We can also timestamp it and just get people to get to this point if they really want to jump.
No, I think it's like
okay,
if
it's
you
true,
actually had the
Yeah.
ability to sit this long and listen
Yeah.
to us babble about light language,
kudos.
good for you.
You're ready.
We love you.
You show commitment.
Yes. You're one of the tried and true. We love you. We love you very much.
Very, very much.
Yes, yes. All is full of love.
Oh. All right.
No, don't stop it. We've got someone behind the camera over here. Shout out to Christopher.
We love you, Chris. Okay, but for real, like, inala ko tara mo ko sana katara shi katara mo ko la kitara mo ko na katana ko ringia sana mo ko tara mo ko.
He just got serious with me with light language. He's like, no, for real. Did y'all see that? You're funny. Okay. I think that like a more organic way to share would be like, I don't know if you flow this way, but like to do transmission. Like,
oh yeah.
I think you should do a mini transmission for those people. I've spoken light language with you a ton, and I think that a mini transmission that like is sending
for directly for them
energy for them would be more efficient with our time and also like really giving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to
go
do
first.
Okay, I go first. All right. Get closer to the camera. I can hear more. Ra nika isha sanala kota moko ke ni kai teni sa ran ya ni katara mo o tanasha katala mo kota ni kata poko ne kata taingi kata no mo shokotara ur maila koni kopo ya ni Koreangoi ke tunoi yare Ila moko taramoko te shamasota pakaramo katabalo te tata posundu tuturgi samoko taramota tataraisha kataramoko ke ina makoto tapola sniega huya la katara angi kataramoko shakala ina malo kataramosun ya poingia nia ketaraba ana Ola katar nimo kota sanasha kataramo la pakono rama oingi taramo kopotok ik ashkata unik erngik atarashk oyen kalak imoy no I namo sanamo kotaramaya no koyaka.
Beautiful. Awesome. What were you feeling during that?
Bliss.
Anything else? Was anything coming up for you in the visual space? Just bliss.
Just bliss.
Just feeling the currents flowing.
I don't get as many visuals when I do light language. Like I get some visuals when I verbal channel, but when I'm like, because I'm all, I don't know. I don't get visuals when I do
it's
light
more of
language.
like a physical.
Yeah, it's more of a sensational kind of thing.
Cool.
You get visuals usually?
I get all sorts of things. It depends on like where I'm angling the antenna. But
Okay.
I'm a very visual person. Though.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
I know that.
Wearing all purple and shit. I am going to channel just to share some like different perspectives and lenses on how that was a very like beautiful example of like just like flow, like free form flow channeling with the light language. So I'm going to channel a activation through the light language and guide you through a little processy through the different energy centers of the body. And instead of verbally in English calling out like which energy center I'm moving the energy to or through, I'll just indicate it like with physical light language with my body by like having my hands placed in different places as I'm moving through, or showing the actual what I'm seeing in my mind's eye of the physical energy flowing through. And I just want to call into the space that the intention of this is to perform a energy recalibration. So if anything is in your energy field right now that is not feeling in alignment, that it begins to spin into alignment with utmost ease and grace. It heals and it spins and it like recalibrates itself into its optimal alignment. and it also integrates to stay that way with utmost ease and grace. And I would like to cast a golden sphere of light that permeates space and time around us, so that we're all in the same space. And in this space is a safe space for healing and transmutation. So anything that you start to feel coming up inside of you as you receive these light codes, just like love it. If you feel laughter, if you feel giddy, if you feel uncomfortable, if you feel like you need to have an emotional release, whatever you feel that wants to come up and come through, just allow it. And if you feel the sensation of wanting to flow your own light language and be in this space of healing trance and healing tone with me, please, you are totally encouraged to do that as well. So we're going to start. I'm just going to rub my hands together, and if you want to rub your hands together too, we're just going to start by bringing the vibration into our roots. And so the way I would love to have us feel that is by placing our hands like on our knees or thighs, or depending on how you're sitting, because the legs really represent the roots for me, the way that I perceive the energy body. And then from here, just follow and flow. If you want to keep your eyes open to follow and flow and like watch the energy move, you're more than welcome to. But if you want to just like drop into the feeling space of everything, like you may as well. And what I'm going to do is flow the energy up the energy center and back down, and then do some like outer layer work using a using light language and tonal frequencies to move this energy field. And perform this recalibration for everyone as we start to come into the next season of our life. Cassidio donai doyane koyo to no anai de kide Olendi no nasi die kiono na idrei kuno no asinreiki ula untuia sayati unoi kola itia nasiu daleiti kumro itie treo kuno haseti ako shunroi harete ko sanraki hondo kia treya te kono aseya treya kyoko soya te no na hanreino hadreitu no hadreitu Treko sonrekio nashikio katekiro kende titi okase. Hanrekio nekio kianga sikio no koedi. Hanrekio no kose tiana ko no koedi. Dandre kosi. Oshuntu kiana kiamo kianekia. Ase kianekio kosi. Traekio no konoya. Adeiki unrosi. Etiakana. Ositri kiana okone kineki dokate situ. All work done. Thank you guys for sitting with me through that experience. Just take a moment, tune into your body and your vibration, and just see if you can notice any subtle shifts that may be in your energy field in this time from that brief little recalibration. And I strongly encourage you to open up that portal for yourself and like see what that feels like with that energy resonating through you from the inside out.
That was really powerful. You showed me up a little bit. I wasn't prepared to do a full transmission. A sore throat too.
Oh, that's
it's okay. It's true though.
I have been doing this all day, so.
You have been doing. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Clients earlier and stuff. Yeah. Warm, lubricated.
You were just ready to just jump right into that.
Yeah.
That was powerful. I felt like we were transported into like saw like a pyramid kind of that like came into the room kind of like it was like this connection to like, you know, how sound healing was used in healing chambers in our other incarnations in the past, and was this technology that sound is like, you know, the ancient technology of how healings would be done in Atlantis and Lemuria and in Egypt, and they would use the chambers to resonate. And I felt like you know, when you really go deep with it, it like that memory is awakened within your soul. So you brought that through.
Thank you.
Which often happens when we really, really go deep with the light language. And of course, when you do it with the sound healing, as you call it, sonic activation, with all the chimes and the singing bowls, like so much more comes through. And that's when we really go deeper into trance.
Yeah, totally. Just like piggybacking off of that last little note, and I think it'd be beautiful to close the portal.
Yeah. Oh, I want to. Yeah.
But like speaking of the chambers, like the healing chambers in the pyramids and all of that, like our bodies are like living pyramids, and our physical like hollow spaces inside, which there are many, are like the chambers and the resonance cavities. And so as we flow sound vibrations through our bodies, like the more we can like be aware of like those hollow spaces and like filling them up with air and sound and like seeing what it feels like to like use our body like a flute or a horn and like flow the sound into those different spaces, we're able to like activate those overtone registers and the different like the feeling of like the inner temple, the feeling of that like cosmic DMT space of the healing chamber that permeates all space and time. Thanks for inviting me to be in this space with you, Dante.
Thank you for creating this. Thank you for creating this with me. This has been incredible. And for all of the spaces we've created together, it's really like fun. Been so magical and such a powerful. I love you too. So try light language and give it all you have, and do it for several minutes, because your brain will change its function. Like it uses a different part of your brain when you do this than your normal language. So it takes a moment to get into it. And everything will change. You are the light. You are the way.
Love you so much.
Find Treneti's website is
Treneti.com.
And I'm blissbeings.com. You can work with either of us. And there will be all the details, all the things in the thing. We love you. Ciao, ciao.